Hey everyone, Dave Greco here, and welcome back to the channel. Before we get started today, I really want to thank everybody that's come over to the channel lately. You guys have shown the channel so much love, it's really amazing. We are getting dangerously close to 90,000 subscribers, which is super crazy to me. So if you guys have been enjoying this comment, it means a ton. If you want to just, subscribe to the channel real quick, give it a thumbs up, that would be huge. You guys are amazing. So today I want to talk about something that every artist goes through at some point, and that is either what people call art block, or you just don't feel creative lately. You just feel stumped and it's hard to get back drawing again. As someone that has to produce content and painting on a daily basis, I love to just kind of sit back and we can kind of talk about some things that I do to keep myself pushing forward, to stay inspired. So I'm gonna put a little time lapse and some other stuff in the background, but we'll just kind of relax tonight and talk about it. All right, so let's dig into it. I hope everyone had a good week, and I really want this format going forward with something we just kind of sit back, relax, and I can just kind of talk about certain topics that we can all discuss together, and you guys can put your comments down below on what things we could tackle in the future going forward. So a question I do get a lot, especially when people see kind of how much work I put out on a weekly basis, is do I get art block and how do I push through it and deal with that? And yeah, absolutely. I feel, blocked or, not creative a ton of times. And I think one thing that we kind of have to remember, and something I always have to tell myself, is we can't, keep creating work just based on when we feel inspired. There are times in our life that we encounter things that do get us super inspired, and we can try to make sure we can capture that as often as possible. But more often than not, we have to keep creating artwork, especially if you're working in a professional job, without those kind of spurts of inspiration. And so how do I kind of tackle myself on a day-to-day basis to think of new ideas and want to push myself further? I thought it was something that we kind of talk about, and maybe you guys can use some of those techniques in how to keep yourself working all the time. There's usually not long periods of time where I'm just not working because I can't think of anything. There's usually at least something small that I can find to at least kickstart a new project or a new piece, and something we can dig into that. So one big thing that I do, especially on a daily basis and in the morning before I get started, is I do try to find some small bits of inspiration, just looking at favorite artists on Instagram or ArtStation. Sometimes there's just little parts of pieces that I haven't seen before that I can try to latch myself onto. Whether it be a powerful composition, some cool color combination or color theory that I haven't seen in a while. Maybe something even that small can spark an idea in my head that I can run with, and then I can kind of base my next piece off of that small idea. Even if it's a character or some fun little thing that's going on in social media. There's so many different outlets that we can kind of grab and latch onto. They kind of make us keep painting. And I think that's always a big part of it for me too, is like I find so much of my joy in my life from creating art and then getting that fulfillment of creating a full piece. And so I always am chasing that feeling time and time again. So it's really just finding these small little droplets of inspiration to keep working. One thing that happens to me quite a bit, and this happens a lot also, is so say if I just got a piece from an art director or a client, and you get a description of the piece and you just don't have anything really popping in your head, no kind of image, that's to really kick off of, and then I can get like a little bit of almost like a panic from it, and I can tell you what the worst thing to do is to try to think of an idea is look at this. Your mind basically goes blank staring at this thing. Do not stare at like a blank sheet of paper or a blank canvas to start off a piece. It's like you can feel your brain like grind to a halt. One of the biggest things that I do and that I have done for almost a decade, if I can't think of a piece, I get up from my computer And I had a teacher recommend this to me back at school when I went to Ringling. And it was to just go for a walk. So even when I'm at the studio, if I just go for a walk, even through the parking lot, behind some buildings, like some alleyways, just take a walk down the street, just the imagery from walking around and just seeing things and breathing the air. I feel like it kind of gets your brain starting to kind of capture different imagery as you're moving around. And I feel like almost all the time, by the time I sit back down in my chair, I already have a couple ideas for some pieces. I just have to start moving around, And that can happen even, I'll work a couple thumbnails, even the thumbnails aren't working. And that can get super frustrating because you have deadlines coming up and you're just not thinking of anything. Boom, I'm up out of my chair, go sit in my back porch. I have to do something to change my surroundings to keep going. Because that's something we have to tackle with too, is that we have to keep creating work, even without that kind of huge hit of inspiration. And sometimes that can almost feel like art block. That like I can't think of anything today. I don't even know if I want to paint today, but I need to find something small that I can latch on to keep painting. And I think that's super important. And I think one thing we can do too, when we're really feeling like nothing is hitting, sometimes take a break from painting that day. Don't paint to the point of frustration. We all have like days where we're super on and all our paint marks and brush marks are totally working. And then some days, like, I feel like I can't even draw a face anymore. Like, for some reason, the eyes aren't on the right spot, the nose is looking weird, and it's just like, all right, if I have the time to spare, let me take a break. I find a ton of my inspiration from games. And so there's, games I hop into, and even lately, I've been playing Warframe with a bunch of people from our community, and I have found major inspiration in diving into the artwork that Digital Extremes is creating with Warframe. The art team there is absolutely killing it. And so I've actually been diving to some of the artists on our station and what they're doing and those kind of like organic, sci-fi designs. So sometimes just following that little tunnel into games that you love and finding these little pieces. And so even small things, just seeing how they design their characters and create that world has given me kind of new inspiration to tackle the next few pieces. So just by getting into that game, which I am super late to the party on that, I'm aware, is, we kind of did this piece. We did this piece on stream this week. I'm showing for the time lapse in the background. And, just something little. I think it was just I wanted to kind of mess around with that organic, techie design. I saw some kind of like monochromatic red pieces and wanted to try a piece out with it. You just never know what small little piece of inspiration is going to help you create your next piece. So I think it's always important to kind of keep moving through, but consciously try to grab little pieces of something that you love and wonder how you can bring that back to your own work. I think you just have to consciously keep your feet moving forward. I think we can get stuck at this idea that I'm mentally drained. I can't think of any of these days. I don't feel creative. And I think I've heard from a lot of people too that sometimes they put it on themselves that like, I'm not creating work at the level that I feel like is good enough, and that makes me stop working. But we have to really get over this idea that like, we're not at the point where we want to be right now, so I don't want to push forward, because we have to keep taking small steps. We have to keep creating work and keep pushing ourselves. It is all small steps. Every artist, including myself, it's all small steps. And you just have to keep putting your feet forward to get to that goal. And I'm constantly reminding myself of that with every single piece. I get through a piece, I may not be super thrilled with it, but it was another piece, and maybe it got us 0.001% better, something I usually say. But put it on the pile and we can go on to the next one. We can focus on some new little piece of inspiration, some piece of art that we like. Maybe there's movies coming out or music that inspires you, that creates imagery in your head. I think you just have to constantly keep grabbing all these little pieces that can really push you through. So I don't myself really get these kind of large things of art block where like I didn't create for 2-3 months. I think that's something I could fall into, but I'm consciously making myself paint and paint and paint and just find the little hits of inspiration if you can. One of the big things that we can really juice ourselves inspiration for me is usually these large events with other artists. So like, if you guys can ever make it to like lightboxing, I even get the same sense of going to like BlizzCon and seeing other artists and meeting other artists. And so like lightbox, as fortunate as it is that it's won't be happening this year, because I could tell just this year I was able to run off the fuel of that event for months to come. For anyone that's ever been to something like that, you leave there and all you want to do is draw and paint, and you have like rocket fuel going through your blood. And so always take advantage of situations like that. Seriously, like get home, paint, draw, because that fuel will diminish. And so I always try to take advantage. Like I know I have that fuel in my system, so I make extra time to really use it. And so that's something I think everyone should do as well. So I guess it really comes down to really just the day to day. Find the little things that work for you, and don't stare at a blank canvas. It really, really hurts. And I like even recently I was trying to think of some ideas for a piece, and the thumbnails just weren't happening. I was spending hours on thumbnail after thumbnail, and it can get frightening and gets in your head. I was like, this thumbnail's not working, this next one's not working. I'm really not nailing the look of this thing. And so I think sometimes if you keep putting band-aids on the same idea over and over, the piece is just not gonna work. And so I took a break. I stepped away from the computer for an hour. I erased the whole thing, blank canvas, came back. I was like, let's start fresh idea. You know what? I'm glad I did. Because then I approached it from a completely different way, and it's finally in a place where I'm starting to be happy with. But sometimes you just have to consciously know, to kind of change your surroundings. Take a breath. It's gonna be okay. Keep pushing through it and keep making edits to get it to where you want. So that's pretty much most of my feedback, and process of how I deal with, I guess what you would call art block. Like I said, I don't have really large stints of time just because I have to create work on a daily basis. And if anyone is looking to go into a professional career later in life, that's actually something they're going to have to deal with, is you're going to have to create work every single day for your studio, for your boss, and you can't wait on inspiration. You have to figure out a way to keep your brain moving, keep your hands moving. And so it's just those small little things you can kind of tackle in. Who knows, I can barely talk sometimes. But I hope you guys enjoy this format, and I'd like to kind of get back to some of these where we just kind of have a dialogue together. If it's not like a specific tutorial or anything, guys, let me know in the comments. These are really relaxing for me to do, and I feel like we can kind of be more one-on-one with this type of stuff. And guys, thank you so much. And also, if you guys want, we haven't done any drawing with Dave in a while. I don't know if you guys want me to kind of kickstart that series. If we do, I do want to take it a little more seriously. I felt like sometimes on the previous ones, they either felt rushed or I kind of jumped in the middle of a piece. But I like the drawing with Dave's to be more kind of feedback oriented. So you guys would give me ideas of a piece to do for the next drawing with Dave. And then I would do a piece based on your guys' comments. And I would like to have that kind of back and forth. So I hope some of these tips helped you guys out. And thank you so much for supporting the channel lately. You guys are amazing. And I'll see you in the next one.